Hey, there are a lot of folks reading your book probably will be excited to talk about the '86 championship, the All-Star games, reading about your battles with cocaine and alcohol, domestic violence, and the cancer scare. But one thing that was consistent that I saw throughout the book dealt with the relationship with your father. And the first line when you said, quote, "I'll kill all y'all." Talk about how that had such a huge impact on your life.
Well, Roland, that had a tremendous impact on my life. You know, when I talk about that situation of opening in my book, the fact that he came home, my dad was a raging alcoholic, and he came home one night and he was arguing with our mom, and we woke up, and my older brother, Michael, he's about 15 at the time, Ronnie was 14, and I was 13, and Michael told, because we had heard it so many times, and my brother Michael told him, "Why don't you just get out of here and leave us alone?"
And he's standing there with a shotgun.
Yeah, well, then he broke out the shotgun. Michael told him, "Get out of here and leave us alone." Then he broke out the shotgun, and then he basically said, "I'll kill all you guys," you know. And that's when we started to react. Ronnie went in and grabbed the butcher knife. I went in and grabbed the skillet, and we said, "The only person dying here tonight is going to be you."
And he eventually leaves. But what was interesting, though, was, I mean, you were constantly writing the book. I'm not blaming him for what happened, but no matter what came back when it came to your children, when it came to your career, it always seemed to come back to the relationship between father and son, or the lack thereof.
Well, it was the lack of father and son relationship. It was due to part because I took a lot of beatings, me and my brother Ronnie, from my father. He was physically abusive. You know, he beat us for any little thing that we did. You know, as kids, break a window, tearing up a phone booth, something like that, doing kids things. And there was no relationship there. There was no communication. And
no love, no affection.
No love, no affection. And the breakdown of it was when he always said, you know, to us, "You're never going to be nothing. You never amount to nothing," throughout the beatings, you know, and when we were getting them in the middle. And that's what I share about. I don't blame him, but that stuck with me, Roland. I mean, I believe that I wasn't nothing, regardless of what I was accomplishing in my baseball career and excelling at all the things that I was excelling at.
But somebody watching probably will say, "But wait a minute, come on, you were making millions of dollars. I mean, folks are screaming your name, all of these accolades." And so even with all of that, you're standing there in the batter's box, you're sitting there in the hotel room, and you're still thinking, "I'm nothing," even with all of that.
No question. I mean, I can excel playing baseball. Baseball was a hobby for me. It's something I love doing. You know, I grew up doing it. That was an outlet. It allowed me to escape from all these memories as a young man growing up and being abused by my father, and the verbal abuse, you know, that was coming across, of never being nothing, never amount to nothing. Regardless, I mean, I accomplished that on my own to be a baseball player. When you look in inner cities, you have to remember, I grew up in the inner city, South Central Los Angeles. You grew up in the inner cities, most young men don't have a father figure around. Most mothers are raising all kids. You know, my mother raised 5 of us, so it was very difficult, you know, for her to keep tabs on all of us. But my outlets were sports. You know, I love playing baseball, I love playing basketball. Excelling and achieving was my goals, my own personal goals. But inside, I didn't never love myself. You know, I could remember the counts of times when I excel in baseball and do extremely well, and the cheers and the glitters and everything that came along with it. But you know what, Roland? When I went home at night, there was I again, me, myself.
And then
who am I?
And that's when you grabbed the bottle, and that's when it reverted to drug use. And then all of a sudden, the chasing of women and infidelity and all of that.
The entire lifestyle. I mean, the entire lifestyle became a habit. You know, became a habit because I always felt, you know, I wasn't that important. You know, I just put on a baseball uniform, you know, with my name on the back of a uniform. That's all I ever looked at it as. You know, I didn't look at the part of, you know, who am I? What am I? What is my purpose? What am I driven for? I was driven to excel at baseball. But I'm talking about life. You know, when you miss that part in your life, most young men miss that from a father figure. Because when you, see, I've been a father to my kids, and I never did the things that my dad did to me, to my children. I've always explained to them, you know, the decisions and choices of life have consequences behind them. I didn't know that. I had to learn all that on my own. Coming to New York, playing in New York, playing under the spotlights, excelling, winning championships, but I wasn't winning at the game of life. It doesn't matter how well we do, and you see a lot of black athletes are like that. You know, they could do great and excel, but how well do we do in life? where's our life skills? And when life skills are learned through mothers and fathers, and especially I say for boys, father. A boy needs his father. He needs him to talk to him, to encourage him, and tell him, don't make that mistake. Don't go down that road. Make changes here. I never had that.
A lot of guys, a lot of athletes, whether they're black, white, Hispanic, take your pick, have the same story as you, but they're in the grave right now. Do you ever think, man, how did I survive all of that, and how in the world am I sitting here right now still being able to talk about it?
Because of the love of God, my faith, my belief, my wife, and what we believed in. You know, Roland, I committed my life. You know, I remember accepting Christ in my life, but I don't remember being discipled and learning what the Bible was all about and learning God's will for my life.
But your mom had faith. Your mom was praying for you and all of that. So it's not like that was a foreign thing to you.
No, it's not a foreign thing. But you know what, Roland? You have to do it yourself. Nobody's going to give it to you. God wants you for yourself. You got to come to God and you got to make your commitment to God. I had to get on my face for 6 months. And this is how I restored my relationship with God. I got on my face for 6 months. No relationship, no women, no nothing in my life. It was me and God, the Word. I went to church 3 times out of the week, back to Bible study, committed myself. And when you commit yourself and commit that relationship, that's when things started to turn in my life because I made a commitment and I started living a different way. I turned from my wicked ways and went into the righteous way of walking and talking and living. And then things started to come full circle and I started to see again.
But it's interesting, though. Did an interview and folks were talking about steroids, and you said, you made a controversial comment that, man, if that was the case then, I would have been first in line. So some people are still saying, yeah, but you're still controversial. So why make that statement? Was it simply a matter of the state of mind then?
No, it's not controversial. It's the truth. You know, the truth is the truth. 22, 23, 24, like Alex Rodriguez. Yes, of course I was stupid and naive. Who was it? You don't know. You try everything. Athletes are very competitive creatures. Their natures are always to get that extra drive. Now, if it was in the 80s and it was going around, of course, I personally, I'll sit here and tell you today, just like I told anybody, yes, I would have took steroids and I would have tried them too.
It's interesting because you also talked in the book about greenies, how they were just sort of like candy. So people today are like, oh my God, we're hearing about steroids, but you guys were using speed then to have the same effect to be able to rebound in a sense.
Well, yeah, it was more like candy. It was like a candy store back in those days, you know, for myself. And, you know, I had addictive personality. So, you know, anything I tried, you know, I wanted more. And of course, you know, I got into greenies and, you know, they helped me coming off of night games, day games, night games. There was no question about it. I got so addicted to them and it became a habit for me. And
but as you said, it wasn't just you. In the book, you say that was prevalent in all kind of clubhouses. Well, you guys out partying, drinking, doing everything, and it was a way to simply rebound.
It was definitely the lifestyle. I mean, you know, of course, we believed it was fun. And, you know, Roland, I think if I would have known at that time when I was that young and coming up and learning, if I'd have known better and known how good I could have been, of course, maybe I took a different road. But my journey is my journey. And, you know, my message is my message. And it's one I lived. And I'm here to, you know, be able to tell it and be able to help somebody else because that's the most important thing.
You mentioned having 8 kids between you and your wife. And so when you look at your son DJ, you talk in the book as well in terms of not really being there when he was a child. What is your relationship now? And are you constantly striving to say, I know where I failed then, but I'm going to make up for lost time?
Oh, no question. My relationship with my kids was great. You know, that's the thing about it. You know, all I've been through and all that my kids know about me, they love me to death. They adore me. And I believe, you have to realize one thing, and I tell everybody this, my kids never had to go through what I had to go through. My kids had a different life. I was successful. You know, I was wealthy. They had everything they needed. They all been to private school. They never had to, you know, they never understood what it was like to have one pair of tennis shoes. They never understood. You know, I remember talking to my daughters, Jade, one time and telling her about, you know, me sleeping in the bunk bed. And she was like, Dad, you slept in a bunk bed? I said, yeah, I slept in one room. You slept in one room? You didn't have your own room?
So your reality clearly different from their reality.
It's totally different. It's a totally different reality than what I experienced growing up. And they were able to see life a little different than I was. And, you know, the education and the schools that they went through where they were able to get great educations about life and stuff, and they've done extremely well, and I'm very proud of all our kids.
Just a couple more questions. One of the things that jumps out is you're still involved with baseball. And so how are you taking your story and talking to the next generation of players? Because we still seem to see the same thing. In spite of your story, guys who play football and basketball, who lost money, who went through drugs and all that kind of stuff, you still see guys coming out, and it's the exact same thing, a cycle repeating itself.
Right. Well, and that goes with the fact of missing father figure in their life. Most young men don't have that father figure to guide them. Young men need a father figure, especially playing sports and excelling and making millions of dollars and at the top of their career. When you don't have that male figure and that voice to be able to tell you how hard it can be from your choices and decisions that you make, you don't know that, Roland, and that's why they make those mistakes. You know, it doesn't mean that they're bad people. You know, it's just part of where we come from, you know, of not having that bond of a man sitting there and patting you on the shoulder and saying, you're going to be all right. Let me tell you a new road to go. And that's what's important. That's what I'm able to give to my boys. It's a new road to go. I mean, DJ, I'll tell you, I've been so hard on him throughout when he was in college and when he got into the NBA level and he played overseas this year. And I told him, it's never going to be easy. It's going to be hard from this point on, and you're going to have to learn. But you're going to have to watch the decisions you make in life and the choices you make.
There's somebody sitting at home right now saying, look, we are in a dire economic situation. I didn't play pro ball. I didn't have all the stuff that he had. Why should I care? How does his story somehow impact my life?
Because the fact is they have to understand. You can look at all the stuff I had, but that was just stuff I accumulated, Roland. It never made me happy. See, and that's what folks search for.
So regardless if you play ball or whether you worked on Wall Street or you work in the factory, it's still a matter of personal happiness.
It's personal happiness. It's not about what you accomplish and what you get in life. Because these are things. Things come and go. But you don't come and go. You only have one life and one chance to get it right. And my goal was to get it right. You know, my goal was to get it right to help younger people to understand that their purpose is not what they do. See, my purpose was not what I did. My purpose is being able to go back and help people that are in need, that are in situations like I am, that are struggling, young people, which me and my wife do. We go to, for my church, we go to youth detention center to talk to young men that are in trouble, young teen. My wife helped young ladies, people that are falling down. We help them pick themselves up out of the pit and learn that you don't have to be in the pit for the rest of your life. You can come out and still have a life.
Have you made amends with people in your past, ex-wives?
Oh, yeah, of course. I regret a lot of things that I've done and made amends to, you know, my ex-wives and for what I've done and what I brought into their life.
Have you gone back to apologize to them? Have you talked to them?
Oh, yes. No question about it. I've always talked to them about, you know, how I felt about, you know, the things that I've, actually took them through. I mean, I ran tornadoes through lives and stuff and hurt people. And I wasn't raised like that, you know, and I asked for forgiveness. So I believe forgiveness has been given to me because God has forgiven me for my sins, and I've been able to go forward.
I want to ask this question for our folks at Showbiz tonight. You have some sympathy in this book for the Britney Spears of the world, for you, these young folks who are going through it and seeing it. What would you say to a Britney Spears or Lindsay Lohan when you see the paparazzi and you see the drama that they are enduring?
Well, I would say to them, and that's why I talked about them. You know, their lives are under such a microscope, and they're watched so close. And I know that feeling. And I would say to them, that's not who you are, what you do. Who you are is when you truly find out about yourself, not about what you do and what you accomplish. Because I think most people are built around what they accomplish in life, but that's just a gift. You know, the real you is inside there, and that's where I found myself. The real me was inside. When I understood, when they get to the point of understanding, and it's not about them, it's about who I can help, then they'll come out of that mess.
Now, your playing days are over, so what are you doing now?
My playing days are over. I'm just loving life. I'm blessed.
Still working in baseball?
I work in baseball. I work for the Mets, and I have a foundation for children for autism, fight for autism. The Darryl Strawberry Foundation is 501c3 nonprofit.
And it's not because you have any kids with autism. It's because you were touched by a visit to seeing kids with autism?
I visited the center in St. Louis where we live, and my wife's sister works there, and I was so blown away that day in '06. And I started a nonprofit organization, and I started raising money to put into those programs to love on somebody else.
Well, Darryl, I'm a voracious reader, and I can tell you the book Straw, Finding My Way, I certainly appreciate it.